Thank you very much for coming to the Town of Cedar Lake Stormwater Board Public Meeting Work Session. If you'd please jump up and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wendy, would you start off with the roll call, please?
Okay, Ryan Lasek.
Here.
Patrick Tomlin.
Here.
Dennis Kinchelow.
Here.
Don Oliphant.
Here.
David Austin.
Present.
Chris Taladas.
Present.
Eric Bosma.
Here.
Robert Carnahan.
Here.
And Wendy Schmidt. Here.
Thank you very much. Did everyone on the board have a chance to review the minutes from the July 6, 2023? Any changes, any questions, any comments? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from the July 6th meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Ryan Lasek.
Yes.
Patrick Tomlin.
Yes.
Benji Kinchelow.
Yes. All right, jumping on into old business, we have drainage issues over at 9080 West 129.
Complete. Looks pretty good too. Went out and looked at it earlier, or later last week. Yeah. Looks good. Your grass even starting to come back already.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
So, yeah.
So we're gonna just knock that off.
Yep.
Check it off. Good job. All right, moving on to update items. Chuck Becker property, should have updated that if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, true.
On 7513 West to 136th Avenue.
Some Dave's Court, I know he's changing the name on the easement agreement. Should go out shortly. All right. Yep.
Good enough for me.
And then that one I think was 4th. So once we get that easement, we will need another one to the east. When we have money as a board to move on down the list, that's when we'll start acquiring that one.
Okay, that's fine.
So,
I mean, there was no,
yeah, I mean, the whole intent was to do that one early because Chuck was selling his property, he already sold it, so
Yeah.
we're just following through on it. So the next one would be Lot 3, the Osan, when the project moves forward. That'd be the only other easement we would need to complete that job.
all right, terrific. Moving on to update item letter B, Schubert and Dodge Street.
Like I said, this one's kind of on the back burner because we know it's not going to be a cheap fix. It's most likely a replacement of that entire system, which will probably be in concert with some type of road rehab as well. The current system's not even, while it's not in good shape, it's also not in a good location to actually pick up drainage. So it's most likely going to have to be removed and replaced, and that may be in concert with curbs. The roads aren't in terrible shape around there, but it definitely needs to be moved and upgraded. And then we still have the downstream issue about kind of feeding it into the Meyer Manor system, which is small in its own right. This is connected to it right now, but if you have any thoughts on upsizing that system potentially, it's most likely going to need its own outfall. It's just the Meyer Manor system would benefit from disconnecting this drainage and basically having this rerouted to another outfall. I mean, that'll be the ultimate goal, but it's a long-range plan because it's definitely 6 figures, which is more than this board's allocated on an annual basis typically. So we'll likely, probably this winter, take it to, you know, a little further, not even a design per se, but have a better idea about options, preliminary costs, outfall locations, know exactly where and if it goes under Huntley Far, and what we'll do with that. We'll likely leave that in place and global fill it, and then probably head east. So that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, from breaking down what you just said, I mean, there's nothing down the road that this is going to be able to tie into it that's...
So that neighborhood, along with, I think, 2 remaining streets in Meyer Manor, are part of kind of one of our sections in our subdivision master plan that was kind of updated again in 2020, 2021. So that is a section in that plan, and that would all be reconstructed, storm sewers, similar to what we've done in other subdivisions in town. That document's dependent on funding. Right now, there's 2 subdivisions in that document that have been kind of tagged as priorities. One's just got awarded at council on Tuesday night. So that's the Shades one, 141st, which will actually take care of one of our old board items, the all tops, if you remember that, off Sherman. So that will install that system to get that lateral fed into that system. So, but that, along with Noble Oaks on the west side, is kind of what has been identified as priorities 1 and 2, and then there's 8 others. I think the total estimated cost, just with all those 10 in that document, and this is just an estimate, probably talking 50, 60 million.
Maybe easily be on the roll in too.
Yeah, I mean, that was a 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old document now. That doesn't include any of the inflation and material cost increases we've had over the last year and a half, which is probably at least another 20%. So, but the document's there. It's a good document for funding allocations as we move forward. Most grants enjoy seeing these types of projects in documents. They're better scored. They're better, reflective on grant committees. So it's all there. I mean, the initial document was created in 2008, and we got through probably 8 of those out of the 10, and then we just kind of added on this recent document. So I know we're kind of getting off base here, though, but give you an idea of just neighborhood projects that are kind of on the docket and how much those cost. We know what we have to do, we just need money.
Okay. I mean, is it even worth having this on the agenda and?
You can keep it, and we're not sitting on it, it's just we know we can't fund it right now, so it's not a super large priority. We know something needs to be done, and we can put an updated cost to it. I mean, the estimates that came out of that document, they're very high level. There's no survey with them. We didn't go out and pot manholes. We've done that with this system, so we know a little more about it. And we can probably single it out and get a better idea of if we have to fix this directly, what can we do with it at the time. So we've got some info on it. We'll start putting it together over the next couple of months and have a better idea about what that number may be.
Yeah, and we still got that 130th court issue too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you were planning on tying that one in as well with that.
That's separate. That's an easier fix. Essentially a singular piece of pipe that is in an existing easement that has a pretty good outflow. It goes down Washington.
Yeah.
And that would just be a simple, I think, replacement in kind.
Where's that ditch on, or I'll call it a ditch, but the Washington Street, where's that outfall? Where does that go?
That's Dodge Court. Kind of up west of the Schubert Dodge area. That's right here. It's a little 6-lot subdivision. It all drains down to the cul-de-sac and then drains down that hill along Washington Boulevard, gets caught in that swale.
Yeah, where does that swale go is where I'm getting at.
That swale drains down towards Lakeshore Drive
Mhm.
and crosses kind of through, I think this is a WPM parcel back here. Yeah, it kind of wiggles its way around here, collects some of the old viaduct drainage down there,
Mhm.
heads south through that WPM parcel, and then kind of swings in, kind of near North Point Marina, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just, could you, if the intersection of Dodge and Lakeshore, I mean, could you put something there and just head west on Lakeshore, underground obviously,
Yeah,
and then tie it into that ditch? Is that
well, we start getting kind of equidistant. That Dodge location, that Dodge and Schubert location is almost close to a high point. Your two
Yep, I got you.
your 2 outfalls would either be down there or up near Potawatomi.
Yeah, I got you.
Potawatomi is a little better because we have direct access. It gets super steep. There's already some drainage issues kind of along that Meyer Manor Terrace line in Potawatomi now.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So that would also kind of fix that. But I honestly, I haven't looked at in detail enough to know what kind of fall we're dealing with. I know we can catch it, but
Mhm.
I also don't want to go super deep to catch it. So it's a balance. And I know the viaduct outfall's not the best right now. That got kind of improved a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
And
Yeah.
part of what happened there was, you're talking about the Mona and, that doesn't have a drain on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That drain there, the street department found down by North Point, they found a discharge there that they didn't even know they had, so I gotta commend them for getting that, and we've had very little problems since they've opened that up.
Yeah, we took
Yeah.
a couple months for that.
That was kind of a mystery system until a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that viaduct used to flood a lot, but I don't think it's flooded in a while now.
It's flooded a little bit.
A little bit, not as
little
bad as
down.
It's not shutting the road down,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So, that's a bit of a mystery system, so we'll look at both. Potawatomi is good because we own it. We have direct access, we can come right up the right of way. It's just a matter of grades work.
Yep.
So, you can keep it on there, we'll update it.
Okay.
Some months will be thin, some will be more.
All right, moving up to update item C, Woods of Cedar Creek.
David and I exchanged some emails about the old easements we have. I think we said before, we have 4 new owners. David's gonna look at the sunset language in it. I think it's pretty broad right now, but I think it needs to be updated, because the documents are 2+ years old now at least, if not pushing 3. So,
I think they're longer than that, Tom.
yeah, so we have them, it's number 3 on the list. We're still working on number 1 and 2, so it's on our list to do. We're getting to it.
Okay. Moving down to the Brink property at 14335 Truman Street.
I don't have any updates on this one.
I do not either.
Yeah, because we talked about it last time, that wasn't this board's responsibility.
Yeah.
Anything from Tim?
No, he just said it was on the list,
Okay.
so.
Has Mr. Brink been out to the BZA community, meeting, excuse me?
Dave, do you remember Burry? Yeah, I think I'm the only one in the room who's seen them. They have been at the DJ meetings, the last 2. There has been discussion about this. My understanding was that they were gonna be looking at some solutions and, talking with the Public Works Department about it. Not Public Works Department, Civil Works, but, would put their eyes on it. And that's what I.
Yeah, they were, Tim King and Nick went out and looked at it last week, so, but I don't know if they did anything.
Yeah, that's probably in anticipation of the DTA meeting next week, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, part of those trees on the end, they're potentially partially in the right of way and potentially on private property.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because you'd have to get all the residents from that apartment building to move all their cars too, and they just repaved that parking lot too, like recently.
I thought Mr. Burring said he had a survey, he could actually locate that corner, property corner. That would at least give us an idea about where stuff is. The GIS on the computers is not accurate enough to tell where's what. So, if we do anything, that line should be figured out.
All right, well, let's keep that on an update item, see where it happens to it. Just so we can check in on it. Moving on to letter E, the Anita Howard property at 12738 Alexander.
That was on Tim's, I think he talked to her, but he told me that.
He
What?
talked to
Yeah.
the neighbor,
Okay.
and he said that it's cleared up, and if
Good.
it doesn't, then they're gonna go back with
It's a code
the
enforcement
building
issue at
inspector
that
or code
point.
enforcement, yeah. So he did speak to the neighbor
Okay.
and physically moved it, and if he moves it back, and then they'll deal with it.
Yeah. I would say you can remove it then.
All right, take
Take
it off.
it off?
Yeah.
Take it off, that's good. All right, moving on to Marlene Lees at 6902 West 128th Place. We do have a basement on these fancy iPads here we can look at too.
And we had a little late addition for this. So, one of my staff members, TJ, went out to that property on July 11th, I believe, so about a week after the prior meeting. We're quite familiar with the subdivisions because we reconstructed it in 2017, 2018. This particular street, along with, I believe, the street to the south, has history. The original storm sewer on that street was installed in, I think, 2006 or 7 through a CDBG grant. That system was slightly modified to put curb and gutter on the road in 17 and 18. You can kind of see the contours, these are 2020 contours, they kind of depict the road cross slope, how it gets all pointy down that road. If you look at 18 contours, they weren't there. The curb and gutter installed in 17 and 18 only would have helped her issue. I know she mentioned at the last meeting, I don't think she's here.
She's right there.
Huh? Oh, hi.
Hi.
Yes, she saw TJ and our intern Leah. The roadway construction we did there, the profile remained relatively unchanged, but we did add curb and gutter. We slightly shifted some of those existing inlets just a bit within the gutter line. That only would have helped this parcel. The road sits a solid foot to 18 inches above her garage, and it's been that way, I think, as long as it's been built. Historically, when we've had similar issues like this at this board, we've said that when we have drainage that's close, we would stub to the right of way, and then that's all we would do. But there's not much we can do without stubbing a pipe back there, because the garage, it's a reverse pitch driveway.
Right.
I know TJ had said there was an issue with the front walk that pitches back towards the house, and there's also a potential issue along the rear line of her property with two of her northern neighbors that may have built back there partially. But again, that's well off public right-of-way. I'm not familiar with any easements back there either. This is an old subdivision. Bob lives about a block and a half away. Yeah, for instances like this, there's not a whole lot we can do, because there's probably 100 of these similar situations in town, I hate to say. I mean, especially in these old pre-platted subdivisions, High Grove is probably close to 100 years old. Back when those plats were recorded, I think in the 40s, if not earlier. It's just an old subdivision that had houses in there, most likely prior to the town even being incorporated. So we've had a lot of these situations in town. That's kind of the tack we've taken, but ultimately it's your guys' call. But that's just the background. Because right now, from the road north, it all kind of drains north to northeasterly off the right-of-way. And eventually kind of crosses through these properties up to 128th Ave, and then there's a ravine up at the top of you can kind of see the tips of the deep ravine on the top of the exhibit. It drops off hard. Like that's where it gets very ravined off. That ravine heads northwest towards the bottom of the Vermilion curve, and then heads north. So that's kind of the background for this block. So, I don't know if you have any questions or...
Could she talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Just approach the podium, state your name and address.
It'll take her a minute to get up.
Don't worry, take your time.
Thanks. I'm Marlene Lees, and I'm 6902 West 128th Place in Cedar Lake. And High Grove, I found out, was developed in 1936, so you're right on.
I was close.
What's happening for me, I've had like 4 contractors come over offering to put drain tile in, and it's not gonna go anywhere. The water is gonna be stopped, you know what I mean? It can't go to can't drain me behind my garage, which the garage is flooding.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I can't spend any money because it's not gonna be fruitful. So basically, what I'm trying to do is find out how to drain across behind myself with the neighbors that would probably help them. I know the guy behind me, and this isn't hearsay, you know, he has standing water and what have you, and I would think anything that you could do would help him as well. And I'm not sure about the next neighbor east, you know, but, so I didn't hear everything you said, but I
Sorry, I
think you're
mumbled.
speculating on anything that you might or might not be able to do. Is that how this stands?
So TJ told me when he met with you that, there were kind of three things. The garage flooding, I know there's a small ditch line, kind of that runs along the west side.
Which
Yeah.
I had dug,
Okay.
yeah.
I thought that had been there a while, so.
Well, it had, and then, it kinda got filled in, so I dug it out.
Dug it out.
I had it dug
Okay.
out.
So the garage is one issue, the walkway in the front of your house is one issue, and then your rear line about water trying to go north.
Actually, if you would rephrase the issue as the crawl space, reason is, different people have gone down there, and some have told me, oh, there's water on the west end, oh, there's water at the front of your house, which is whatever, south end, you know, and then I have a sump pump on the east end, you know, so I should be maybe concerned about what's going on there, you know, and try to figure that out, but I think drainage to from the back of the house going backward is gonna solve that as well. So basically, my pitch, and the other thing that people have told me is that 4 inches is critical, in my yard, the way it kinda slopes up and down. And, you know, that I have to cut the land or something to, you know, cut down the 4 inches, which I don't know how to do that. And I'm learning as fast as I can. You know, to try to rectify the situation, because I would like to get a driveway. And my concern is that right now it's permeable because it was gravel, which now all the gravel is pushed over because of the snow plows. However, I'm starting to get mud, and you need to find out if I should be putting some gravel down there, or can I get a driveway this year? I don't know if the driveway is gonna make the problem worse. You know what I mean? Some people say, oh, we'll pitch it, you know, but would that do it? So I'm like really in the dark, and I don't wanna spend money that's not gonna help the situation, that's why I'm here.
So if you can get an inlet on your property somewhere, there is an inlet in the road, kind of just to call it the southwest of your driveway.
What's an inlet? Are you talking about a
Like
sewer
the
drain?
grate, like a storm grate, like there should be a square grate, pretty
Yeah,
much
there-
at your southwest property corner, in the road.
In the front of my house?
Yes.
Right,
So,
but that's higher than my garage,
but it's about 4 feet deep, the bottom of it.
okay?
So, knowing that your surface, you fall off about 18 inches from the road to your garage, there might be enough slope to run a pipe back to the right-of-way and tap into that structure.
Awesome.
So, you would need to check that to make sure.
How do I do that? And do I need the town to do that, or?
We
is it
will,
the town equipment? No?
so the town would core in what we call a stub to that catch basin, that grate in the curb. And we would stub out a pipe, and then whoever you hire could stub into that. So we would essentially stub to your property line.
What's that word you're using, stub?
Stub, S-T-U-B,
Oh, okay.
Just a short section of pipe
yeah,
that'll go in.
Okay, so there would be access from my property to drain into the...
to drain it into there. That would give you what we call a positive outlet, so we can catch some of the water in your property and get it into our system in the road.
Awesome. Okay, so can you recommend a contractor that I could talk to? I have no idea who to call.
We've got all kinds of contractors, you can check in the office and get a list of them, right?
You can get a list of licensed contractors in the town, we cannot recommend anybody specifically.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Oh, and then what do I do to try and get you to put that in, or how do I coordinate with that with you? Do I talk to yourself?
Talk to Wendy,
Talk to Wendy.
because they will ultimately do it. They will do it.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
do you want her to come before Michelle for the contractors list, or?
Yeah, if you could, for that list of licensed contractors here in town, if you want to call or come in and talk to the building department, they should be able to provide you that list.
Okay, thanks. And that would be a building contractor, like guys who build houses.
Licensed contractors for the community.
But, I mean, when you say building contractors, do I call the guys that build houses or some other kind of contractor? What kind of contractor?
It's someone that does underground work.
And it would be obvious from the list?
Michelle can break that out.
Yeah, she should be able to break that out.
She'll give you the ones that can do that type of work.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep that on update items. Moving on to public works projects. Item A, Julian Gibbons property.
I don't.
Yeah, A and B, David has that, we spoke this afternoon, he's working on those easements now. So we're just in a waiting game till we get those, get them signed. Once we get them signed, that's when we'll start taking the activity of actually getting materials. Just to rehash everybody's memory, the LATS is primarily grading on those two parcels. I believe Sullivan is his western neighbor and LATS that's all surface grading and switching out the pipe under 140th place.
140th, yeah.
And then we would swap out a pipe on 140th Ave to the north as well, but that one's in a right-of-way. So I think that's a small guy, I think it's 15 inches or something like that. So, yeah, it's small. Ms. Gibbons, same thing, singular easement on their southern neighbor, the Malakars. Once we get that, we'll order that pipe. That's a little more involved, especially with 2 or 3 manholes, maybe only 2, flared end section in a right angle, kind of coming up north along her western street. So once we get those together and signed, Public Works will move on materials and get it scheduled, hopefully this year. It's a goal.
Why are the easements taking so long?
I don't know.
Thank you.
I didn't hear the question.
They're asking why the easements are taking so long.
Well, I think 3 professionals have worked on that project, and we got the files and are deciphering same. Don's right, we talked with him and his firm, so we're working on it. We'll be, in like 30 days, we'll have this to you.
Okay. All right. Any questions on the LATS project? Same thing, so.
Same thing. A is 1 easement, B is 2.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to new business. Nothing?
No, just waiting on the okays for the other 2 big ones.
Okay. All right. Is anyone online?
Yeah, there's Sue online. If you want to talk, Sue, please raise your hand and I'll unmute you.
She's not a member of the public, though.
Hmm?
She's not a member of the public, just for your reference.
Oh, is that Sue Hayes?
That's not her.
Is that Sue Hayes?
That's probably Sue Hayes.
Okay.
All right, moving on to public comment. Please, when you approach the podium, please state your name and address.
Mary Joan Dixon, 8711 West 132nd Place. I don't want to assume, Don,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming that I'm one of the, on the list. True.
You are part of that section 5.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, just keep.
We,
I just wanted to check in periodically.
I think there's 2 remaining streets in Meyer Manor that didn't get done as part of
Marquette
everything.
and Truman, yes.
So those are tacked on to the north Meyer Manor Terrace.
Just checking.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Wow. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day, and we will see you back here on September 7th at 7 p.m.